canal atop its load of coal. As everywhere in that world of the six-day work week, Sunday was truly the day of rest. All work stopped, and fun was the order of the day. Barge and houseboat parties sailed the canal. Clam bakes, barbecues, picnics. Music, all kinds of music. Music on the water, music on the banks, fishing in the canal, swimming in the locks, baseball. Here and there, a little brawling left over from Saturday night, relaxing and dozing. For the canalers and those who lived along the canal banks, Sunday was an event, a day to both dress up and take it easy. For instance, look here. Great-grandfather, grandfather, father. Yes, Sunday was a true holiday, a different life. From the hard, long work of the other 6 days, Sunday was a step into serenity, a day sweetly set apart, a way of life that was then and is gone. All through the canal's history, the conch horn was used for signaling. The mark of a professional was his ability to blow a good blast on the conch. When heavy fog hung over the canal, blotting out everything beyond a few feet, the long stretch of the canal was filled with the sounding of the horns as the canalers warned their way through the blind darkness, through the damp, dim air, the clop of the mule hooves, the jingling of the mule bells, the wash of the water as the boats plowed along. Above it all, echoing up and down the canal and across the banks and fields, you heard the blast of tin fish horns or the multitude of conch horns mooing through the gloom. The Canal Company maintained dredging crews who worked throughout the season, scooping up the accumulating silt from the bottom. There were also carpenter boats and scows for general repairs. These boats worked the canal, repairing towpaths, locks, company houses, bridges, mule barns, and cutting down bothersome trees. Here is the Rocky Hill baseball team, a local 9, 1908. This is Irv Robbins, whose grandfather was the bridge tender at Rocky Hill. Barney McCloskey, Irv's friend, is still renowned as the best baseball player the town ever had. Barney's father was proprietor of McCloskey's Bar, an establishment famed and warmly thought of among canal boatmen. This bar was located on the towpath side of the canal, across the bridge from the railroad depot. A similar stopover in Princeton Basin was Billy Lynch's Bottle House. The classiest bar along the canal's route was the Bound Brook Hotel Tavern. In the 1870s, the tavern bought and installed the equipment and fittings of the Waldorf Astoria Bar in New York City. During Prohibition, the tavern was raided by state troopers who chopped up the elaborate wooden bar. Nonetheless, except for the television, you can walk into the tavern today and see it much the same as in the 1870s. In April 1899, the Canal had a spectacular voyager. A Spanish gunboat, the Alvarado, was captured in Cuba, steamed north through the canal, stopping to go on exhibit at various points. In December, the Canal had another spectacular voyager, the submarine Holland, the first submarine ever to be accepted by the United States Navy. In 1915, during World War I, the Liberty Bell was sent to tour the country and excite patriotism. It traveled on a special flat car with flags waving at each corner, and which carried lights so that the bell could be seen at night. As today, there was fishing on the canal. Freshwater fish from the Delaware River could be caught the length of the canal to New Brunswick. In the final lock and canal outlet at New Brunswick, one could also catch saltwater fish, for instance, killies and herring, from the Raritan River. One sees in the variety of cargoes carried by the canal the bustling activity along its banks: steamboat building, canal boat building, farming, stone quarrying, ironworking, numerous other forms of laboring. Occasionally, while the men were working in the factory, foundry, or field, an inquisitive photographer would happen by, and the men would stop work a minute and pose for a picture. Elegant. In 1871, the canal and its partner railroads, named all together the United Companies, were leased by the Pennsylvania Railroad. The Pennsy wanted the United Company's railway business and their right-of-way between Philadelphia and New York. The Pennsylvania Railroad had no desire to run a canal. They decided to strip it of its commerce. In December of 1932, the Pennsylvania Railroad closed the canal for the winter. It never reopened. From that day on, no boat has moved upon its waters save canoes and an occasional rowboat or raft. The canal boats and tugboats were sold off or left to rot at their moorings. Nature reclaimed the land, overgrowing its banks and towpaths with trees and greenery, and people casually used the canal and its lands for swimming, fishing, canoeing, hiking, and camping. Only today is the canal finally being officially developed as a recreational area. In addition, the communities and industries along the banks of the canal buy more than 73 million gallons of its water each day. The Delaware and Raritan Canal is more valuable to New Jersey financially than it ever was in all of its days as a freight carrier, even in those years when it reached its peak as the most prosperous canal on the continent. Both the state and federal governments had declared the canal an historic site. The old canal buildings, the lock and bridge tenders' huts, the boatmen's homes, the forges and mule sheds are being salvaged and refurbished. The waters of the canal are being stocked with fish. The old bridge house at Blackwell's Mills is being converted into a museum of canal history and artifacts. And speaking of history, meet now two gentlemen who have known the canal in the past, Captain Bill Lynch of Bordentown and Wilbur Smith of Weston.
You're familiar with the analyzer?
Yes, sir. We could hear this boat coming at night several miles away with this automatic control on the rudder, see?
Yeah.
And it was a very, we could say, there comes Analyzer. Then pretty soon you hear him blow the whistle for the bridge to open. And she'd go on, glide by us into the distance. You could hear her coming and going. Down the Analyzer. Then we had those chunkers that come along. You know, there's two boats put together.
Yeah,
they call them chunkers.
Hinge boats.
Well, they used to tie up down there below our place, which was about, maybe 700 feet from the bridge. These chunkers would tie up there and go over to the country store and get some food, and any mules that need shoeing, they take the mules over there because there's a blacksmith shop there, a place called Weston. And they would do their shopping, have the mules shod, and go back.
When the canal was open, we used to catch an awful lot of herring right near those boats because the war was turbulent. And I remember I'd get a peach basket with a piece of clothesline on it, put a stone in there to make it go down and just pull it up. Might have had 3 or 4 herring in there. Besides a safety pin, just put it down and keep pulling it up and down. They were so thick you'd catch them. My grandfather had 3 barges, cargo barges, and the house I live in presently, the original part of it was built from some of his barges.
No, of course.
The original part of the house, which was 2 rooms down and 2 rooms up. Now, of course, since through the years, there's been more added to it. But the original part was built from my grandfather's boats, canal boats.
Isn't that wonderful? And
I still live in the house.
Still live in the house?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But the forward part, the original part, that was built from a big part of it, where the canal boats my grandfather owned.
Well, you ought to be proud of that, my friend.